Hey folks, Seth Leibson here. It's that time of year again. Guns Etc. huge anniversary event. This year it's on Saturday, October 24th only. There'll be tons of giveaways and one-day only discounts in the store. Over the years, this event has turned into a gathering of folks who love America and the right to bear arms. As you know, our world may dramatically change on November 3rd. Can you imagine what a Biden-Harris administration will do to the Second Amendment then? If you're concerned about that, make sure you visit Guns Etc. on Saturday, October 24th. For more information, go to gunsetcetera.com. And if you like these monologues, please subscribe to 960 The Patriot's YouTube channel. Welcome back. Monday, November 2nd, 2020. Hes the Virus. That's what Joe Biden said about the president yesterday. He's the virus. Of course, it's Donald Trump's rhetoric people talk about. Hillary Clinton called Donald Trump's supporters deplorable. But of course, it's Donald Trump's rhetoric people talk about. Joe Biden has said if you don't vote for him, you aren't black. But of course, it's Donald Trump's racism people talk about. Joe Biden said black people don't have the same diversity as Hispanic Americans. But of course, it's Donald Trump's racism people talk about. Joe Biden said black Americans stock store shelves and Hispanic Americans are first responders and doctors. But of course, it's Donald Trump's racism people talk about. Joe Biden said Barack Obama was, quote, the first mainstream African American who was articulate and bright and clean, running for president. But of course, it's Donald Trump's racism people talk about. Joe Biden's speech in the last 2 weeks is a fit of screaming and yelling. But of course, Donald Trump is too loud. A Joe Biden cabinet could include Bernie Sanders, Elizabeth Warren, and Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. But of course, Donald Trump is too loud. Oh, and Donald Trump is too much of a break with the Republican Party. Meanwhile, Elizabeth Warren and Bernie Sanders and Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez are the essence of the Democratic Party. Perfectly respected members. Traditional. Donald Trump is impeached for a conversation about foreign aid to Ukraine with the president of Ukraine, asking Ukraine to clean up corruption. Joe Biden looks to have profited from his son's business dealings in Ukraine and Russia and China, complete with sources and written evidence. The media doesn't want to touch it. Neither does the Democratic Party. Businesses in major cities are being boarded up right now in case of riots tomorrow and the rest of the week. But of course, Donald Trump is the one who won't accept the results of the election if it doesn't go his way. Let me put a fine point on that. Is there truly a credible fear, if Biden wins, that truckers, nurses, steelworkers, stevedores, lawyers, golfers, accountants, and suburban moms and dads will torch our streets, just as they have been doing all year? The center, our mainstream, our common view of things, it's off kilter. One rule for everyone is no longer the norm. Equal justice under law has long ago been torn asunder. Fairness and singular standards of investigation and reporting are nowhere to be found. But of course, it's Donald Trump who broke all the norms. Yes, of course he's loud. How else do you break through this modern-day Oceania? Or were we to just accept this curtain of hypocrisy and double standards? No president has put together and racked up more peace deals in the Middle East than Donald Trump. But of course, he's a white supremacist, bigoted against Jews and Middle Easterners. This, of course, is why when Nancy Pelosi was asked about one of the recent deals between Israel and 2 Arab nations, she called it a distraction. A distraction from what, you may ask? Well, of course, the ongoing attempt to condemn the president. In other words, do not let facts get in the way of a strong argument. Do not let ugly facts kill a beautiful theory, to paraphrase Thomas Huxley. No president has had more placid of a foreign policy in not starting new wars or toppling other countries' leaders. But of course, Donald Trump is the unstable warmonger. No president has done more to improve the economic conditions and opportunities of the poor. But of course, Donald Trump is the one who only cares about the wealthy. No president has done more to take on the behemoth of China. But of course, as they decry racism and oppression, it's the left that praises and covers for China. No president has done more to improve the economic conditions and opportunities of minorities. But of course, once again, it is Donald Trump who is the racist. Now, note what happens when we try to point any of this out. We get silenced. The media will not pick it up. It's as if none of it is true. But of course, it's all true. Why then they are not dead, but dead they are, as Lady Anne said in Richard III. There may be no more fundamental part of both essentials to a liberal democracy, namely equality and freedom, than freedom of speech itself. It is what allows dissent. It is what allows for an educated citizenry. It is what allows for the give and take, the competition of ideas. It allows people to make policy decisions after a full and fair hearing. It's what allows the best policies to be ventilated and possibly chosen. It is what allows the average and the powerful an equal place in their right to their opinions. It's what allows us to get rid of or improve bad laws. It's what allows us to engage in civil disobedience and protest, allowing us every great social change and movement in our history. So do note, it's the first thing the modern day left in media, both social and traditional, have tried to limit and restrain. Consider, when you call speech or treat speech as violence, what is the natural response? End it. But of course, Donald Trump is the tyrant. Those who engage in this kind of limiting and restraining of not only speech, but fair coverage of both sides, they know well what they are doing. It's not an accident. The problem, though, is this. They are convinced they are right, and conservative positions should have no play or purchase in this society. They are convinced that the only legitimate wingspan of debate should run from left to liberal. They have taken the notion of liberal democracy and converted it into meaning democracies should only be liberal. They are convinced our positions are noxious and theirs enlightened, and it matters not at all what the data or results yield. Our policies lower poverty and provide economic opportunity. A mere accident that was unintentional on our part. Their idea, if the government doesn't do it for you, it's insensitive or uncaring. They are so unshy of this point, their vice presidential nominee could this weekend tweet a lesson on why equality is less important than equity. The former, the essence of freedom and enlightenment. The latter, the essence of government control and race norming. And to them, government control and race norming are the new self-evident truths of operational politics. Anything that deviates from it, to the extent of the deviance, is not to be tolerated as respectable, much less possible. Hence the censorship, hence the shaming, hence the bitterness and anger. It's not new, it's just louder and more ubiquitous. They compared Barry Goldwater to Hitler as they did Ronald Reagan and every subsequent Republican presidential candidate. Yesterday, a columnist at the Boston Globe compared Trump and his supporters to ISIS. The point is not that they have run out of arguments on the other side. The point is to marginalize us, cast us out, shame and silence us. Do not forget what they did to Brett Kavanaugh. That is the essence of today's Democratic Party. And precisely this is why so many immigrants from formerly or currently communist countries support Donald Trump. They know the whiff and stench of authoritarianism, and they not only sense it in the modern Democratic Party, they fear it, and rightly so. The history of the world is not a history of freedom. It's a history of tyranny, divine right of kings, bloody wars, poor health. That was the way of the world, until a new order of the ages came on the scene, founding itself, separating itself for the first time in the history of the world, not on divine rights or bloodlines, but on the concomitant principles of freedom and equality. Of course, we walked many highways of mistakes. But of course, too, with our founding principles as our guide, we always were able to find our way, course correct, renew, and improve. What is a deviation from our founding, what is a wrong turn, is to pit Americans against Americans based on race and class. Those are the foundations of Nazism and Marxism. Either we are all human beings or we are not. Either we are all Americans or we are not. And that, too, is part of the whiff and stench so many who lived elsewhere see here, or potentially happening here. No country is so strong or can be so strong as to protect itself forever. We were told again and again the hardened strength of the Soviet Union would never crumble. It did. We are told China is such a strong leviathan it cannot and will not yield. I pray it does. We, an open society, unlike tyrannies of the past or present, are inherently weaker if, big qualifier, if our own ethics and foundations are no longer seen and recognized as true and worth preserving. Note how it's happened here before. We declare ourselves on principles of liberty and equality and end up having to fight a bloody and terrible war to prove slavery was and should be no part of that. My fear is it can happen again, not with a taking up of arms, God forbid, please no, but an eradication of memory and a surrender to the least moderate demagogues of our time, speaking in one of our least moderate moments, all the while convincing itself and trying to convince others of its moderation. We can fix this tomorrow. Will we? I'm Seth Leibson. Give me a call.